Ugh, I'm not switching my team to some fancy work platform that somehow knows exactly how we work. And its AI features are literally saving us hours every day. We're big fans. And just like that, teams all around the world are falling for Monday.com. With intuitive design, seamless AI capabilities, and custom workflows, it's the work platform your team will instantly click with. Head to Monday.com, the first work platform you'll love to use.
Welcome to No One Told Us, the podcast that tells the truth about parenting and talks about all the stuff you wish you knew before having kids. I'm your host, Rachael Shepard-Ohta, and today I'm with Beth Gaskill, or better known as Miss Beth. And I'm so excited to talk with you today. Let me just tell our audience a little bit about Beth before we jump in. Beth is trained in the science of reading, the Orton-Gillingham approach, and you are a multisensory literacy instructor, a former early childhood and elementary school teacher. You founded Big City Readers to create a space for families to come together and understand how to teach their kids the unique ways that they are wired to learn and read, not just to teach reading, but to build community and have fun. And I love that so much. I am a new follower of yours on Instagram. I have a kindergartner. He just started recently. And so I've been just loving your content. And I am a former teacher as well, also trained in Orton-Gillingham. I taught special ed elementary for 10 years. So I feel like this is going to be a great conversation. And I'm just very excited to nerd out with you on teaching and reading stuff. Thank you so much for being here.
Yay, me too. I did not know that you were Orton-Gillingham trained. Now we need more than half an hour.
I know.
How did kindergarten go, the start?
Oh my God, it's been shocking. My followers from Case to Be Baby know about this whole saga. So I live in San Francisco, where we have a lottery system for public schools. So we felt very strongly that we wanted public school. Also, it's pretty much our only option because private schools here are $40,000 a year.
Oh my gosh.
So we were definitely going to go public school route. And it's a lottery system here. So we had to tour all the different neighborhoods, all the different schools. We had to rank all of our choices. It was very overwhelming. And my oldest is a pretty sensitive little guy. Luckily, and I do want to hear your thoughts on this because I know you have a whole podcast dedicated to redshirting, but here in California, it's kind of based on your birthday. And so he did a TK year, which was huge for him. He really needed that extra time and he really thrived in TK. And so we felt like he was super ready, but we were still nervous because of his personality. And he came home on the first day saying that it was the best day of his life.
Oh, yay.
Second day, best day of his life. It is just, I don't know. It's just been amazing. So I'm kind of holding my breath, waiting for the other shoe to drop. But I feel like starting out the gate on a positive is so huge.
Yes.
So yeah, we're thrilled. But
Yay.
It can go a lot of different ways, right? The first day or the first week anxiety is so real.
Oh, it's so real. I had a friend actually just call me yesterday in tears because it was her third kid starting kindergarten. And she was my easiest one. I mean, the other ones I thought were the ones I had to worry about. And then she was like, I don't know what to do. This was such a surprise that she's having so many meltdowns. Yeah. And I was like, sometimes though, the ones that you think are totally fine, they surprise you. And they're like, I have been holding it together for years, you guys.
Yes, exactly. Let me show you what I can really do.
Yeah. And then you're like, and now you're just throwing me into this kindergarten.
I know. It's really tricky. And I think, you're right. What you just said, a lot of kids are really good kind of maskers. And then it's not until you kind of throw them into that big new situation that you realize, oh, maybe there was, some other stuff hiding underneath the surface. But yeah, for him so far, it's been good.
Yay.
So
I'm so happy.
Yeah. But I don't know. I feel like just that whole process of looking for schools and hearing about different curriculum and what they're doing for reading was and I'm looking at it with my teacher lens and it's hard because change in public school education is very slow. Mm-hmm. And it was funny to kind of see all the administrators squirm when parents who had clearly listened to the Sold a Story podcast.
Oh, yeah.
They started to ask about reading instruction, and I would love to hear your thoughts on all of that, because I know you do such a great job on your Instagram giving parents like the confidence to ask about that stuff and to advocate for better reading instruction. So first, maybe we should go back to the beginning and let's hear a little bit about your background and how you got started, and then how and why you made the shift away from school-based education.
Oh my gosh. Well, also I was going to add that I think it's like behavior. I think behavioral stuff and reading go so hand in hand. And like those are the two big things. And it's funny that you say it was funny watching administrators squirm, because I always say like the biggest green flag is when administration is not shaken by your questions. Like, yes, they might not have the answers, but that they're okay with your questions is what you want. Like kind of like relationships, you know, if you think about like, you're like, if I just go through life, like I'm not gonna be friends with that person unless they have this, and this. No, it's like, oh, I really like that person, or like even a romantic partner. I really like that they're really open to my ideas. So
yeah,
then,
and to communication and a back and forth.
Yes. So
it's
like
supposed to be a relationship between you and your school.
Yes. So if they don't squirm, but they're like, you know what, that's a great question. We are always, you know, doing the newest research and stuff like that. I'm like, that is great. You don't need to have everything perfect.
Exactly.
Okay. My background, I was a teacher. I was actually Orton-Gillingham trained before I became a teacher.
Oh, wow.
I know. But here's the interesting thing. And I actually was I was doing a professional development recently, and they were like, it was with a library, and they said that a few of their librarians got Orton-Gillingham trained, but which Orton-Gillingham, for those that don't know, is originally, it's over half a century old. It's two people, Orton and Gillingham, and they developed this method based on science that was originally for the dyslexic brain. Often, like so many people are like, oh, well, dyslexic people need to memorize words. It's like, no, this method was made for the dyslexic brain.
Exactly.
So there's like so much misinformation, but Orton-Gillingham is like the tried and true. It's not a swing in the pendulum of curriculum. It's like been steady. It's been consistent. It has not changed for over half a century. The research has not changed. So, my mom was actually trained at Orton-Gillingham randomly, but I didn't know that until we were like cleaning up my childhood home. I was like, why do you have these textbooks? She goes, oh, I did that for one of your, I have a huge family. So like one of my siblings was dyslexic. And so she got that training like in the 90s.
As a parent, not as a teacher.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, how cool.
But my mom, like I'm one of 12 kids. Like my mom's
kind
of,
I know. To talk about that.
I know. My parents adopted. So I'm the youngest of 4 biological, and then they adopted a bunch of kids after me.
Oh my God, amazing. Wow.
Yeah. So that's kind of part of my story too, is because there were so many different learning needs and behavioral needs. And that's kind of why I became a learning and behavior specialist and reading specialist, because I saw how, like my whole life was watching how everyone learns so differently.
Right.
And so I wanted to build a place, because my mom was a great advocate. Like she helps other people. She advocated for every one of her kids. And I watched her my whole life advocate for other families with kids with special needs or learning differences. And so I was like, I have to make a place, like every parent deserves that sort of advocate on their team. Mm-hmm. So jumping ahead, okay, but taking a few steps back. I was trained at Orton-Gillingham, went to school to be a teacher, was teaching first grade, and I was not using Orton-Gillingham because the school didn't tell me to. Like I was trained by my student teacher. She was one of the facilitators. And so I was really lucky to get that training, but I didn't know how to implement it because the school didn't hand me that curriculum.
Right. And if you don't have the materials and,
yes, exactly.
Kind of hard.
Exactly. So I remember it was a couple months into teaching first grade, and a student of mine was reading a sentence. And so the whole language approach, which is the opposite of the science of reading, is to look at the word where, actually phonics and phonological awareness is to look at each sound in the word. And somebody along the way said it's faster to teach kids to look at the word and not the sounds, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
When you actually think about it. But I had this little girl in first grade who was reading this sentence. So if you are teaching the strategies that are not based in science, it's look at the picture and take a guess. So the sentences in the story were like the same pattern. I like to play. I like to swing. And so the picture is changing with the last word is changing. So you can guess the new last word. So they're just memorizing these sight words. I like to, and then changing it to the picture,
Yep.
And so the last one was, I like to ride my bike. And it was a picture of a child riding their bike. And I was like, look at the picture. What could it be? Look at that first letter. And she's like, buh. Or no, actually it was bicycle, which is not a word that you can decode if you're learning.
If you're in first grade.
Yeah. I was like, wait a minute. This was like ridiculous. So I was like, look at the picture. What could it be? And she didn't know what it was. And I said, do you have a bike at your house? And she said, no. And I actually then like went investigating and, couldn't just leave it at that. I was like, this is ridiculous. Of course a child has a bike. And sure enough, she does not have a bike. She came from a very, diverse background. She was living with her grandparents. They were working all the time. She didn't really have like a lot of time to play with friends. She kind of just tagged along with her grandparents to work. She, English was not their first language. They didn't have a yard. They didn't really live in a safe enough neighborhood where kids were riding their bikes out in front. Right. And then I started to be like, wait a minute. If this is the strategy I'm trying to teach, what do I do when kids don't have access to that many words, which is,
or when they have such different life experiences and I had a very similar situation happen where I was teaching kinder and we were reading one of those like pattern books, just like that, where it was different foods on every page. And a lot of my kids didn't know the different names of the vegetables.
Yes.
And it was that kind of like a light bulb moment where it's like, why are we doing it like this? Like, this is not working.
And when you see it like that, you can see so clearly that it is a huge social justice issue. That
100%.
That somebody said, it's easier for this. It's easier for a certain class and race. Yeah, sure. So anyway, went back to get Orton-Gillingham trained. Like, remember asking my principal and she was like, are you sure you want to do 1,000 hours of this? Like,
it's intense. Yeah.
It is really intense. And I was like, I need to. And it was really funny to me that my principal was like trying to talk me out of it because like they paid for half of it. And she was like, I'll do it, but are you sure? I'm like, I need to do this. Cause then I was transitioning to a reading specialist role. So I was like, if I'm going to be doing this with a whole school, I need to have more resources.
Right.
So then is when I kind of stepped into literacy specialist. And then I did that for about 6 years at a couple of schools. And then kind of realized that a lot of teachers, and it's no shade to teachers, but they are expected to do a lot of things. So a lot of the teachers that I was trying to like train or do things, they're like, I don't have enough time to learn this. I don't get paid enough to learn an extra thing. Like, so nobody wanted to learn. And I was like, this is so infuriating. And so I was like, I can't fight this from the inside out. I got to fight it from the outside in. And so I left and I built my tutoring company.
That's amazing. Oh my gosh. And so many of the things that you just said made me just think back to all of the things that I experienced with teaching too, because teachers are so overworked, underpaid. There's no resources. Even if they would love to get trained in something like this, they can't always. It's expensive. It's a lot of time away from school.
Oh yeah. And that their parents like, so I was saying like, come in Tuesday mornings at 6:45. We'll go 6:45 to 7:45. And like parents have their kids at daycare. Like,
I have a baby.
Yeah. So it was like, it wasn't their fault, but it was just like, how? No one is giving them the resources.
It's a systemic issue. So
taking on a DIY job around the house is the ultimate summer project. But if your DIY home security system is a beware of dog sign, when your real pet is Princess the cat, that's safe-ish. To be actually safe, help protect your home with a DIY system from ADT. It's easy to install and gives you virtual assistance from ADT's technical support team. Best of all, you can tell everyone in the neighborhood you set it up yourself. Don't settle for safe-ish this summer. DIY with ADT instead. Visit ADT.com to learn more.
It's been a crazy summer, and now we are getting back into a routine and getting ready for back to school. We've got sports in the night times, busy schedules with everybody coming home at different times. My husband and I are just here and there like ships in the night sometimes. So between all of these busy schedules and plans, sometimes all I've got is a couple of minutes, and Factor really helps me eat smarter and healthier with super tasty chef-prepared meals that are dietitian approved and delivered right to my door. Now, with more than 65 weekly meals made for how I live and what I like to eat, I've got even more ways to fit in a real and delicious meal. And my husband and I know that everything that we order is going to be delicious. We've never tried a meal from Factor that we didn't like. There's so much variety. You can choose from really premium choices like salmon, shrimp, steak. They're all super, super yummy. And we know that they are giving us the protein and the fiber and all of that good stuff that we want. They've also got some global flavors, which are really fun, so you never get bored. And for the first time, you can try Asian-inspired meals with bold flavors that are influenced by China, Thailand, and more, which we love. We absolutely love Asian food in our house. So for more choices, better nutrition, and that's why we say 97% of customers say Factor helps them live a healthier life. You can feel the difference no matter what your routine. The best thing is that Factor is delivered right to your door, and they only take a couple of minutes to heat and eat. They're so fresh, and they taste like you're getting food right from a restaurant. So you can eat smart at factormeals.com/no-one-told-us-50 off and use code no-one-told-us-50 off to get 50% off your order plus free shipping for your first box. That's code no-one-told-us-50 off at factormeals.com for 50% off plus free shipping. Get your delicious, ready-to-eat meals delivered with Factor. So let's talk a little bit about why this is such a, we're not paid by Orton-Gillingham, by the way. Like, this is not sponsored. But we, as educators that have been trained in something like this and that do know the science of reading, like, we see how important it is to be doing it this way. And when you see that maybe the majority of schools are not doing this way, it's like you said, it's infuriating. So can you talk a little bit about why this approach or this type of approach is so much more needed and so much more effective than what the traditional approach is right now in the U.S. public schools, but just based in the science?
Yeah. So if we teach kids, so the big differences are like the whole language approach. And I just gave a presentation on this, but when I was a teacher, I thought that whole language, I didn't know that that was an approach. Like, I was like, oh, I just thought like it was like part of something. I didn't know that that was a name. So it's a name of an approach, which is a big focus on sight word memorization or high frequency words, which for those of the listeners that don't know, that will be like, if you get in kindergarten a list that comes home that says, just tell your kid to memorize these words. And it's the, like, of, we. And many people will say, well, we have to teach them to memorize these words because they can't sound them out. So it's tricky and this is going to give them more confidence. But that's not true. And there's actually like a much better way to teach kids how to store these words. Like, we can teach them to automatically recall them. But what I like to explain is if we do that the wrong way, if we just tell kids to memorize the words instead of actually teaching them how to, it's called map the words. I know that you all know, this. I'm like saying this.
I'm just like nodding vigorously, but yes. Please explain for everybody else. Yeah.
So it's mapping the words where we say, for example, if the word is said, you need your child to be able to tell you how many sounds they hear in the word said. Said, 3 sounds. So that's different than 4 letters, right? Because the middle 2 letters are 1 sound. And then we teach them that AI is the irregular part, and it sounds like it would be spelled with an E. The reason that we don't want to push to sight words first is because if kids can't do that and name the amount of sounds with real and nonsense words, then it's not really going to make a lot of sense for them to understand an irregular pattern. If they can't do it with regular patterns, then what does irregular mean? So this is where there's so much confusion because people think it looks like kids can read, because if we teach them to memorize, 100 words, it looks like they can read. And so that becomes a future problem. We're like, yay, they passed kindergarten. Yay, they passed first grade. But then we see in 2nd, 3rd, 4th grade, kids are struggling and it gets harder and harder to overcome that challenge that they have. So what I like to say though about sight words is it's not that we are ignoring sight words. Those words exist, and we do want them to be automatically recalled, but we're not actually making them automatically recalled if we just teach them to memorize them. It's kind of like if you bring your groceries home and you put like your milk in the bathroom. They're in the house, but it's not going to last. Right. So like to actually teach the right way to store that word, taking 30 more seconds rather than just teaching them to memorize it is going to actually set them up for lifelong success. And so those are the two big differences. Is like, one, we're thinking that this is like faster to teach kids. Just look at the picture clues, just memorize the words. We're looking at the whole word rather than each of the sounds in the word. It seems faster, but it's kind of like building a building on one brick. You feel like you're going to get really, really tall and then it's going to come crashing down, where this one is like a huge foundational layer and then it just shoots up once we have that huge foundation. So I'd say that's the big difference. And as I was talking, I was like, what was the question you asked?
No, basically that was it. Like, okay. What are we doing now that's not working, and why is a different approach better? So something that's like more multisensory and more focused on phonological awareness and phonics and decoding and all of that is what you want to see. So I guess maybe for the non-educator, so for a parent who has no idea what we're talking about, what should they be looking for? What should they be asking about when they're maybe touring potential schools, or maybe they don't have a choice of school, but they want to just make sure that their school is kind of up to date on reading instruction?
Oh, that's good. So I do want to say, somebody messaged me the other day and they're like, what do we do if our school is doing sight words and transferring isn't an option? And I was like, whoa. Like,
no, that's not what we're saying.
I was like, I was like, how did that get lost? Like,
right.
So I would say you want to hear the words phonological awareness and phonemic awareness. So a lot of people, I think, are familiar with phonics, but what has to happen before phonics is phonological awareness. So phonological awareness is being able to do all of these tricks with your eyes closed. So the big trick that people always go, wait a minute, what is learning to read actually starts with your eyes closed. And so we want to be able to have kids play with sounds. And that would look like if you say, ooh, there's a car. What's the last sound you hear in car? And your child can say, but then when they have such a strong understanding of that, then you say, what letter spells r? So that's phonics. So phonological awareness is naming the sound. Phonics is putting the letter to the sound. And so I would say like the green flags that you want to hear are schools that are talking about strong phonological awareness. That doesn't look like worksheets in the preschool and kindergarten level. It looks like hands-on. It looks like Play-Doh. It looks like sand. It looks like a lot like kids closing their eyes as they count sounds and words. They're using their fingers to count how many words they hear in a sentence, and they're clapping syllables. We want to see whole body learning, and we want to make sure that we are not having kids spell words before they are so strong in doing it with just their ears. So we don't want to even put the letters and sounds in front of them if they're not really understanding that. So that's what I would say you want to look for if you're on a tour. Like, look for preschool classrooms where I'm imagining right now like a circle of preschoolers and the teacher is saying words and all the kids are stretching them slowly with their hands, or like counting and showing their fingers how many sounds they're hearing, or humming syllables in songs. So phonological awareness is really a lot happens in read alouds, a lot happens in singing songs together, and a lot of it happens through play.
Yeah, I love that. When I was student teaching, I will never forget this teacher that did all of that so beautifully. I have no idea now if they were like trained in Orton-Gillingham or something, but I loved how they made everything into a game. So like they would have a secret password to get up from your seat, and they would say, the secret password today is D, A, G. And then they would see if the kiddos could understand that word. And like you said, like those are the types of things you want to see just like throughout the day, not just during, okay, it's reading time, we're going to learn our sight words today, or we're going to learn about this one letter today. It's like it should be incorporated throughout their entire day and really based in playfulness.
Yes, I love it. And I do a lot of training with preschools, like whole preschools. And I'm like, that's the biggest thing I say. I'm like, I'm not going to make you add anything to your day. I'm going to show you how you can do this. You can say like, okay, oh, I notice your shh. oohs are untied. Can you fix that? Or like put your hands on your head. And so it's those moments that are actually showing what's happening. It's not necessarily the like, we use this curriculum. I like want to see that teachers fully understand, are trained, and get what they're doing. Not just like, this is the curriculum we bought, but like teachers get it and are supported and know who they can ask when they have questions.
Exactly. And so what do you suggest to parents for, that communication piece that we were talking about before? What if they're not seeing those things, or they ask and they're kind of brushed off? That was something I experienced a lot when we were looking at schools, is there were a couple of parents who were in the know and brought up like, oh, what are you doing for phonological awareness? Or, oh, we've heard that this is not really the right way to teach reading anymore. It was very clear that a lot of them had listened to certain podcasts. And I can link that podcast in the show notes if anybody is interested, because I've mentioned it a lot. And I'll link your podcast too, because it's great. What would you say if you're getting met with kind of that resistance, or that, oh, it's just a trend, or it's just a fad, or our teachers are very well trained and we're not worried about it, or, you're just not being validated and they're not seeming to understand that it's a big deal? How do you navigate that if you can't change schools?
Well, it's educational gaslighting, which is like extremely unfortunate. Like I hear so many people talk about medical gaslighting, and it's like, the next thing is educational gaslighting.
Absolutely.
And it is like, parents know what they're talking about. But I think that, like what you said, you're being met with that resistance. And I like to remember, resistant force is always met with resistance. So humans are triggered easily, and people want to feel validated. So I kind of tell parents to ask in a different way. So maybe reminding the admin, if you're on a tour, or your teacher or whatever it is, like how much you respect them. And so I would say like, hey, this is newer to me, but I'm really interested in this. I'm wondering if you've heard anything about this podcast, Sold a Story, instead of being like, I know everything about this, because then, you get that resistance back. That's like, oh, you listen to a podcast.
Yeah. Oh,
and
yeah.
now
You think
know
I've been teaching for 20 years. Like, let me tell you. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So like kind of like going at it with that approach by being like, hey, this is new to me. Like remembering that you are like new to this, whatever you're hearing about, even though you are qualified, but this is new to me, wondering your thoughts on this. I always also like to remind parents like to start a really positive relationship at the beginning of the year by, maybe like the first couple of weeks of school, sending a really lighthearted article like to the teacher and being like, hey, I read this article. It made me think of you. Would love to know your thoughts on it. I know you're super busy. Things like that, even if it's just in your child's folder, because I know like a lot of people will get annoyed with like too many emails, or like, obviously you don't want to just be in their inbox every day.
Right.
But I would say like starting small and not just jumping in with, the big guns, but being like, thought of you with this article. I really value your opinion. Would love to know what you think. Then going into like, listen to this podcast. It's really new to me. Wondering what your thoughts are. I know a lot of other parents have been talking about it on the playground, but I thought I would come to you first. So kind of reminding them how much you respect them, instead of like, it's a small shift of being like, hey, all the parents are talking about this. Can you make a comment on it? But being like, I heard some parents talking about it on the podcast. I know you're the expert, wondering your thoughts. And then from there, offering help. So I always tell parents, like, you have to be willing to help with the change. So, that means like first going to your teacher, instead of being like fighting, going and like reminding them, just like reminding your own kids, like we're on the same team. So being like, hey, do you know about this? Finding out if they know about this. Second, like, hey, can I help you with this? Like, do you think you need more resources? Like, is it a school level thing? Do you have ability to change? Like, then if the school allows like volunteers, be like, is that something that I could come in the classroom and help with? Or is that something that I need to go like make a parent group to go to administration about? Then at the administrative level, is this something that is about funding? Is this about parent support? Like like asking for a meeting with the principal or the administration to say like, what needs to happen and how can we help? Because I'm willing to assemble the parent team to help make this change. So not just like having the complaints, but being ready to back it up with the support.
Absolutely. I think that's such a good point. And I think a lot of teachers might be frustrated by parents coming to them in that way because they're like, I don't make the rules. Like, I'd love to be trained in this thing, but I literally can't.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, they don't want to feel like you're going over their head and like running to their principal about you don't like the way that they're teaching reading, because that's not going to make you any friends with your kid's teacher either.
Exactly.
So yeah, coming in with that spirit of support, like, hey, I just joined the PTA. We'd love to support any training that you guys want to do. Like, please let us know. We think something like this would be really great. Or going to the board. Like, sometimes it's even out of the principal's hands.
Yes.
And they're tied to their board and their district. And, you know, they don't have maybe quite as much power as we'd like to think.
Yeah. So true.
Yeah. Okay. The last thing I wanted to ask you about, and for anybody that's interested in this stuff or that has kids that are going to be school age, please go listen to Beth's podcast because she has like a million different topics that you can listen to at length.
Do you guys know what's more annoying than packing 3 different lunches every single day for my kids? Realizing I'm out of everything at 7 a.m., which is exactly what I'm trying to avoid this school year, which is why I stocked up already during the Thrive Market back to school sale. As you guys know, I love Thrive. I've been a very loyal Thrive customer for 7+ years now, I think. And it's just been a lifesaver for our family. I absolutely love that they have ingredients that I can trust, brands that I love. I can do all of my shopping right from the app and subscribe to the things we use most so that I never have that moment in the morning where I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm out of the only 3 foods that my toddler will eat in her lunchbox. So our latest order has been packed with really delicious snacks and pantry wins. My kids are obsessed with the Yum Earth gummies. They love the Aloha bars. I really love those too. Poppy sodas, good crisp chips, all of our favorite snacks and treats. And I saved up to 25%, I think, while I was restocking. So if you've got a really busy schedule too, and you want really great quality options, now is the time, because new members also get 30% off their first order and a free gift. So go to thrivemarket.com/HeySleepyBaby and start saving today. The sale ends on August 31st. thrivemarket.com/HeySleepyBaby.
Mint is still $15 a month for premium wireless. And if you haven't made the switch yet, here are 15 reasons why you should. 1, it's $15 a month. 2, seriously, it's $15 a month. 3, no big contracts. 4, I use it. 5, my mom uses it. Are you playing me off? That's what's happening, right? Okay, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, $15 per month equivalent required. New customer offer first 3 months only. Then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
One thing I wanted to talk about, though, since we mentioned it at the beginning, was like signs of readiness for school. So for parents who do have those kids that have like a cuspy birthday, or they have an option for a TK versus going straight to kindergarten or something like that, what are the things that you would look for to see if a child is ready, or to see if maybe they would benefit from that extra year before starting kindergarten?
Oh my gosh. It's such a hard one because it's so dependent on the child, right?
Yeah.
But I like to remind parents, 1, you do know your child best. Like, even though like you always know your child better than anybody, you are the parent.
Mm-hmm.
But school is for learning. So I would say I barely look at the academic stuff about kindergarten readiness. That's what they're going to do. They're going to learn how to read. They're going to learn their ABCs. It's developmentally appropriate to start kindergarten without even knowing all your ABCs. People are like,
Right.
oh, they can't read. It's like, no, school's for learning.
Yeah.
I would look at the social emotional, like how do they feel when they're away from you? Have they spent enough time away from you? Are they okay talking to other adults? I would, like ask a friend if they could take your child out for coffee, like see how that goes, or even like swap kids for the day, for like the morning, and like go for a walk with each other and like see how they do talking to adults, how they feel about sharing problems they might have, independent skills like bathroom or, self-regulation, soothing things. And then sitting still, but this is like, hear this the right way. That doesn't mean sitting still for 8 hours. That means like people are like, oh, sometimes they have a hard time sitting for 5 minutes. It's like, well, so do I actually. So I mean, like, are they like rolling around on the carpet, cannot like understand you saying, hey, for the next couple of minutes, we're going to sit. Like, do you need to go do 20 jumping jacks and then come and sit? Like, that's a normal thing for a 5-year-old. But if they can't do that, if they can't like look at you in the eye and have that understanding that this is my job right now, we will play. If they're rolling around, if they can't regulate their body around other people, like those are signs that they might need another year of preschool, but not necessarily like the only signs, because kids are made to move and kids are still learning every day and they're still learning how to ask for help. So I would be cautious about this, because I want parents to know, don't expect that they know how to do all these things if you haven't practiced them. If you've been practicing them and then they can't do them, then maybe they need another year of practice. But if you haven't introduced them.
Yeah. And your kid's energy level. Like if you can't take them to a restaurant or like a library story time or something like
exactly.
that, it was so funny because one of the things that my son said when he came home from school, because he was at a very play-based preschool and they did the TK as well. So he was there for 3 years. He was very comfy, cozy. I absolutely love them. I think they did like an incredible job at preparing him, obviously, because it's gone so well. But one thing he said was like, one thing that's different, mommy, is we have to stay seated. And he didn't seem bothered by it, but it definitely did feel like a big change for him that he wasn't able to just like get up and wander around wherever he wanted and go inside and go outside. So yeah, like preparing them that things might look a little bit different, but also knowing that like that's what it's for. It's going to be different than preschool because it's kindergarten. It's big kid school. And so that wasn't something he was used to, but it's been going fine so far, at least. But that's just his personality too. He's never been one of those like rough and tumble type boys that's like falling out of chairs all the time and has total high energy. So for him, it's been fine. For another kid, it might not be, but just like knowing how to prepare them for that. So the last thing I wanted to ask you about was kind of similar to that question. So we're sending our kid, they're going to school now, and then they come home and they're having complete meltdowns and losing their minds. And this is something that we commonly refer to as after school restraint collapse. And I remember it so well when I was a teacher sitting in meetings. I would just be like gushing about somebody's kid and how much I was enjoying them and how lovely they were. And the parent would look at me like I had 3 heads and they'd be like, are you sure that we're talking about the same child? Because at home, they're an absolute nightmare. And I just want to normalize that for parents and let them know that that is such a common thing that we see, that your child is struggling and holding it together and they're working so hard all day at school to keep all of those big, messy feelings inside. And then when they get home, they let it rip because they feel safe with you. So do you have any tips or things that you could say to parents who are dealing with that, like really, really big, heavy emotional release after school? And is it a sign that they should be worried or not?
No. Oh my gosh. That's funny. I literally just posted this morning. Like I was like, we're on the same page.
I know.
But I like to remind, like for me, even in teaching, I'm like, and this is what I say whenever I do a professional development to teachers, like you have to put yourself in the situation and understand this. So I like to tell parents, literally close your eyes and think about this. Imagine that for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, you are in one room with 25 of your friends, and someone is in charge of you and says, do not speak to them. And you have to, right? Like, and you are not in charge of when you get to go to the bathroom. You are not in charge of any of your bodily functions. You might be thirsty, but it's not water time. You might be hungry, but it's not time to eat. You as an adult would hate that. If someone's just speaking, and of course, there's time for play and there's time that they get to chat, but like really someone's talking basically at you for the whole day, is telling you not to trust your own feelings, to hold that bathroom, to hold that hunger, to hold that thirst, to kind of not really look at your friends because you might want to tell them something. And maybe like for me, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't not tell if I'm in a room with my friends, I can't go more than 30 minutes without
talking. No. I was always in trouble for talking too much in school. Like I cannot, my son told me that his table won like a prize for being the quietest table group. No. And I like died a little inside.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, I get it. This is like a whole nother topic, is like behavioral and teacher, classroom management strategies. But yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot to ask of them, right?
It's so much. It's a lot to ask of adults. So put yourself in their shoes, then go realize that that's insane a little bit, and then go, okay, what would I like to do? Maybe I actually don't want to talk and answer questions about my day. Maybe I want to go hit a punching bag. Maybe I want to go jump on a trampoline. Maybe I want to be able to pick whatever snack I want in my own house. Maybe I want to be alone. Maybe I want to scream. Like those might be the things that are happening. But so maybe set those options up instead of being like, you can't throw your body, but being like, there's a trampoline, or you can't scream. Oh, actually, like maybe we do karaoke, or maybe we do like go outside and have 30 seconds to scream. You know, the emotion can't stay. If we let it out, it won't stay in our bodies. You know, it like actually like, so if you just allow them to come undone, like you are going to be so fine. And like, give yourself that extra like month. I remember a pediatrician friend of mine said, never in kindergarten, like don't schedule any extra activities for the first 6 weeks at least.
Yes. I think that's such good advice. They're doing plenty.
They're doing plenty. They're doing mental gymnastics all day long. So let there be room for screams, for jumping, for eating ridiculous things, for letting them choose. Let there be room for that. And if we allow the room, then it's like not frustrating for us. You know, if we allow extra time instead of like, why aren't you ready? I told you to put your shoes on. They're being told to do all those things all day. But if you're like, okay, we're leaving in 30 minutes, I'm going to go tell them like, hey, we're leaving soon. You need to put your shoes on. So then it's not like a big deal. It's like they have the time to take their own time. They're really just trying to claim who they are back in that after school time. Like they need that autonomy.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. I'm so glad you put it that way, because I totally agree. And yeah, it's nothing to necessarily worry about. It doesn't mean that they're miserable at school. It just means that they worked really hard to keep all that in all day, and they need to let it out with somebody that they love and trust, and that will not judge them or shame them or punish them for having those big feelings. Yeah. Beth, thank you so much. This was such a fun talk. I feel like we could do 25,000 different episodes, but you've already done so many great episodes on your podcast. So I would love for everybody to check that out. And then what else can parents do to access your resources if they're wanting to kind of get ahead or help remediate their child's reading or anything like that?
Yeah, well, you can always message me on Instagram. It's Big City Readers. The podcast has a lot of topics. It's the Play on Words podcast. But I have a ton of courses for babies, toddlers, preschoolers, and up to third graders that are, yes, reading focused, but also like social emotional and problem solving and kind of empowering and anti-perfectionist. So it's kind of a 15-minute lesson, but it covers a whole range of things to help regulate those maybe after school blues.
Love that. The anti-perfectionist thing is so big too, because my son is so that way. And yeah, I'm kind of anticipating that when he's starting to get into the meat of learning to read, that is going to be really hard for him. So I will check those out.
Yay. Yeah, I am too. And I didn't know that I was, because perfectionist is not what we think it is. So it's
totally,
it's a lot when you're like, oh, that's why you're acting like this. It makes a lot more sense.
Right. Exactly. Thank you so much, Beth. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
This episode is brought to you by FX's Alien Earth, the official podcast. Each week, host Adam Rogers is joined by guests, including the show's creator, cast, and crew, in this exclusive companion podcast. They will explore story elements, deep dive into character motivations, and offer an episode-by-episode behind-the-scenes breakdown of each terrifying chapter in this new series. Search FX's Alien Earth wherever you listen to podcasts.